Hi everyone, thank you so much for checking out another video here on Shows, Style, and Spirit. So today I am going to recap the latest episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. This is season 12, episode 3, and it's titled A Very Jersey Kegger. Shout out to all the college students who always enjoy beer from a really large keg on campus, or off campus, I should say. So I've taken notes, of course. And the episode opens up with Dolores and her two kids, the recent college grads. Dolores and her daughter Gabby are concerned that once Gabby and Frank live together, that they're going to bump heads because they're both hotheads. Now, I just want to say very briefly, this is my first season back of tuning into Real Housewives of New Jersey in quite a bit. I always knew from the gossip blogs what was going on, like with Teresa and her ex-husband, and all of their legal issues. So I kind of just always kept abreast of everything. But getting to know Dolores, she is quite the love triangle in her personal life. So we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. So Dolores explained that she divorced her kid's dad when they were really young. And then it sounds like, he's still very much in their lives. We're going to talk about that when he meets with some of the guys later on. In my opinion, living with anybody is going to be tough, whether it's your siblings or someone you're dating or even a parent. There's going to always be some days where you just want to live alone and not be bothered with them. So they always say never underestimate the power of solitude. So I just think that, Dolores, I hope she doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, my family dynamic is so crazy. My daughter, my ex-husband, they bump heads. But I think it's just human nature. Sometimes it's going to be hard to live with people. So then we see Teresa's daughter, Gia. As you know, she wrote a song before called Waking Up in the Morning. And according to Teresa, it went viral, was a huge hit. Will Smith was even singing the song. And now she actually has sweatshirts, I guess with some of the lyrics printed on them. And they are in local boutiques in New Jersey. So, I can't even hate on that. I think that's great. Gia, as a young kid, she's already learning about the benefits of entrepreneurship, being your own boss, being in charge of your own schedule, and trying to control more of your income flow by working for yourself. So I think that that's great that she's learning this lesson already. I thought the sweatshirts were cute. I saw some were pink, others were blue, really like soft pastel type colors. I really do think that the kids, the teenagers, they'll be into it. They'll love to tag her on their Instagram post wearing the sweatshirts. That just seems like such a genius way to market your products and to get people to get into it and buy into it, because they would love to tag the celebrity that's selling the clothing. So at the boutique, at one of the boutiques where they are hyping up Gia's sweatshirts, they're actually rehashing, when their Uncle Joe hurt their feelings by talking about their dad. And so I guess that's just kind of like a reality TV rule where things are going to be rehashed from previous seasons, last season, last week's episode. It is what it is. It gets a little annoying, but I accept it. It's reality TV. So then we move on to a really fun scene with Joe Gorga. As you know, Joe Gorga is married to Melissa, and Joe, of course, is Teresa's brother. He has drinks with a couple of the guys, including Dolores' ex-husband, Frank. And I have to say, I feel like the husbands on The Real Housewives of New Jersey, they are such a vibe. They have great jokes, they laugh, and they're like macho men. I just love it. So I'm so glad that they're there. And to me, they don't do a lot of filler episodes with the husbands. You know how it is, like all of the women on a reality TV show, they'll go out for drinks or dinner, maybe something was said that somebody didn't like. Then the next scene, you see the wife at home with her husband telling him what happened the night before. And then, he's like, oh, there's always drama. It wasn't really like a filler scene like that. It was like legit the men having man talk and talking about things. So let's get into that. So the men, they actually go to a restaurant, they have drinks. It is Joe, Frank, and a third gentleman. And they start off by talking about Frank's strained relationship with his daughter, Gabby. Frank said something that kind of made me laugh. He says, I'm helping Dolores renovate her house, and my daughter just acts like she hates me, and I fixed the toilet, and she still hates me, and then he says, I never would have thought that your kids grow up and then suddenly you have to answer to them. And I just thought that that really stood out. Definitely, I think that it varies from parent-child relationship to parent-child relationship. I was 36 when my dad died. He was almost 80, just a couple months from turning 80. And I don't even think that I would have ever been in a position where he'd have to answer to me. No disrespect to Frank, but I'm just saying I think that's definitely, a variable depending on the household. And then, it sounds like Frank is going to move in with Dolores because that's why she's concerned about he and Gabby butting heads. And Joe Gorga asked Frank, he said, so is this Dolores's house or or both of you guys' house? And Frank said, well, in the divorce, Dolores got the house. I had to pay for it. And, he just sounds like he just kind of accepts it. But there's so many gray areas when it comes to Dolores talking about her love lives. Like, I'm saying love lives plural. Like, who do you love? Like the LL Cool J song, who do you love? Like, who is it? Does she still have feelings for Frank, or is she holding out on David to want to commit to her? I found that very interesting. And Frank didn't have a clear answer for Joe either. When he asked him, is it both of you guys' house or just Dolores? So then the next scene, we see Jackie and her husband. They have a date. It's like a lunch date. It looks like a beautiful restaurant. They're outside. And they were both a part of Greek organizations in college, right? So Jackie pledged a sorority. Her husband pledged a fraternity. I never pledged a Greek organization, but I'm sure it's a lot of fun. But on a serious note, Jackie starts talking about her struggles with her weight. So when they were reminiscing about undergrad, about college, Bravo showed pictures of Jackie when she was larger. And of course, when you're overweight, you are conscious about that, self-conscious. And Jackie talked about struggling with periods of not eating. And it sounds like she still deals with that today. And I have to say, in this scene, I wasn't cringing because I felt like the husband didn't care. I could feel and see the sincerity. He was trying his best to pick out the best words to say to his wife. And he said, I want you to talk with someone. And I thought that that was great. I thought that that was sufficient. That was enough. When you say to someone, I think that you should talk to someone, and in the right tone, it's admitting that you're not a professional in psychiatry or counseling, so you don't have the skills to help them, but because you love them, you want them to get some help. And Jackie received it. She was emotional. I'm trying my best to be as tender and fragile and appropriate with explaining the scene. But I did think that it was very important, very significant, and I'm sure that a lot of the viewers will be able to relate to Jackie and that journey of, health and wanting to meet your health goals and weight loss goals. So I thought it was a very touching scene. So then we see where Jackie calls Jennifer on the phone. Now, one thing, I just love Jackie, and I'm sorry, I know that I'm like going side to side, but I just noticed that, so I had to self-correct. But Jennifer, or Jackie, I can really tell that she's a compassionate person, because even in her personal struggles with her weight and her eating habits, she is still trying to think of others and trying to nurture her friendship with Jennifer. So it really shows that she's not a self-centered person, and I really like that a lot. So Jackie calls Jennifer on the phone, and I actually think that this is a dangerous friendship for Jackie. I don't really trust Jennifer, especially with a gentle spirit like Jackie. You know, what do you all think of their friendship? Do you think it's legit? Do you think it's sincere? Teresa and Louis, they're actually at home and they're preparing dinner for a large family dinner. Teresa said that Louis journals and says affirmations, and I absolutely love that. I do too. I stand in the mirror in the mornings. You know, I try to say at least 3 things that I like about myself, or you know, I'll say like a declaration or an affirmation, and it just really helps set the tone for your day. You know, you can even couple that with meditation if that's what you're into, or prayer. And you know, my goal is to create some content surrounding you know, self-care and affirmations, and just really how to develop and maintain a positive mindset. So I really love that when Teresa shared that about Louis. And we're gonna see a really funny scene between Joe and Louis in regards to how Louis communicates. Teresa even made a joke in her confessional. She said, you know, Louis communicates so calmly, he does affirmations, he journals, but my family, when we get upset, we bang on the table and we yell, you know, so that is an interesting dynamic. So, but then you never know why 2 people come together, because it seems like Louis and Teresa kind of balance each other out. Perhaps Teresa helps Louis to open up a little bit more, maybe get a little loud, you know, and Louis teaches Teresa to calm, you know, especially when she's in the middle of a storm. All right, so after we see Teresa and Louis in the kitchen cooking, Joe, Melissa, and their kids arrive at Teresa's house for dinner. And the homemade Italian food, it looks amazing. Teresa and Melissa actually rehashed the whole Margaret Jennifer beef. So if you haven't checked out my last video where I recap the first 2 episodes of this season, I talk about the beef between Margaret and Jennifer. Margaret feels like Jennifer is a hypocrite. She doesn't keep it real about the infidelity in her marriage when her husband Bill allegedly stepped out on Jennifer. And Jennifer has been very emotional with Margaret bringing up those details about her marriage. So Louis has the family sit down and he wants them to do an exercise where they write down things that they want to push out of their life, you know, or maybe breathe out of their life, and things that they want to pull into their lives. So Joe Gorga, Teresa's brother, says, let's talk about it. You know, let's not write it down. Let's talk about it. So Louis says, okay. And he's very eloquent about it. He says that he wants to let go of fear and bring in more trust. In Joe's confessional, he is dropping F-bombs. He's like, what the F is that? You know, we're men, we don't talk like that, you know? So Joe is just thrown off by Louis' calmness. And what I'll say to that is, everyone just be yourself. And don't feel limited just because you are a man that you have to talk tough and be macho. Just be yourself. Do what makes you comfortable and happy. So I just thought Joe's reaction was just hilarious. So, and I also think that's kind of pressure to put on yourself to act macho all the time, you know? And I think that that's how men get out of touch with their feelings. But, you know, the family, including Teresa's daughters, Joe's nieces, they actually talk about, you know, their feelings and how Joe made them feel when he would criticize their dad. And Joe said in his confessional that he finally gets it. He sees where his nieces are coming from. And he says to the family, not in the confessional, you know, when we find ourselves in a rut, it's because we can't let go of the past. We're stuck in it. And I just thought that was so profound. So I love moments like that, you know? So now it's time for Jackie's college party. Remember I said that Jackie and her husband, you know, they went to college and they pledged sororities and fraternities. So they really have this really cool looking party with all sorts of games. And I love the husband's banter. Also, right before Jackie's college party, we see a quick scene between Tiki Barber, the retired, I believe, NFL player who's now a sports commentator. He's married to Tracy. They were talking about how they actually have compassion for Jennifer because they know what it's like to kind of be involved in a little bit of romantic relationship drama because Tiki was separated when he started dating Tracy. So they actually have compassion for Jennifer, and they're kind of concerned that at Jackie's college party it's going to go down, which it did. Okay, so let's get into it. I love the husband's banter though. At Jackie's college party, they're playing beer pong, and they're just having like a good time. There's even a moment where Joe asks one of the guys, like between you and your wife, are you getting any more oral? And the guy says, well, I've been doing more yoga. So basically, I'm doing it myself. And all the guys just burst out laughing. I thought that was a really fun moment. So everyone gets there. The women are huddled together at Jackie's college party, and they are talking about Jennifer. And Jackie says that Margaret has blind rage, and it's keeping her from seeing why Jen got emotional in the previous episode at Dolores' house. So I have to say, I do see Jackie's point when she said blind rage. A light bulb went off for me because I guess she's saying, Margaret is just so annoyed with Jennifer, perhaps just doesn't like her personally, that she can't see her point of view at all. And I just really thought that was very eye-opening. I'm glad that Jackie said that in her confessional because it did give me some perspective. So Jackie and her husband Bill show up, okay? And Dolores talks about her relationship with David. So she said that she's just the girlfriend, but what does that mean in life if, God forbid, a serious crisis were to happen? How much authority does she have to say over the well-being of David if they're just boyfriend and girlfriend? And I mean, hello, that's the whole point of it all. Some people, they say the point of dating is marriage. I don't fully agree with that. When I was younger and still trying to please people and, just do everything as close to perfection as possible, I would have agreed with that. But I just feel like you do what makes you comfortable. But Dolores does bring up a good point. If you're in a romantic relationship and you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, what does that truly mean? So I think that's a question that only she and David can answer for themselves. So yeah, the men, were having a good time. And then the women, after Dolores talked about her relationship, they decided to rehash the Jennifer-Margaret drama. Then Jennifer tells Dolores that Jackie questions how true Dolores' friendship is with Jennifer. So let me just say what happens and then I'll recap. So Margaret even says to Dolores, well, you are closer to me than Jennifer. Dolores gets mad. Jackie comes back to the circle and Dolores says, did you say to Jennifer that you questioned my friendship to her? And Jackie admitted, yes, she did. She said, you're close to Margaret. So Dolores asked Jennifer, do you have a problem with me basically being friends with Margaret? And Jennifer said, well, I do kind of feel like, basically you perhaps take sides. You're not really neutral. I'm paraphrasing. Dolores responds with, okay, well, I'll work on that. But in the meantime, I don't need that from this. And she is referring to Jackie, who is a person, as this, which would be an object. And that just sets Jackie right off, as it should, and she defends herself, which I'm very proud of. She says, you will not disrespect me. Do not refer to me as a this. And then Dolores and Jackie are straight up in each other's faces. And then the episode ends. So it's on a cliffhanger. That's always brilliant production. You can't go wrong with a cliffhanger, very classic. And it's a legit cliffhanger. It's not even no clickbait, nothing like that. So episode 4, we already know it's gonna start off lit like a light bulb because Jackie and Dolores are in each other's faces. Now, I don't know if you all have heard, but when the trailer for season 12 of Real Housewives of New Jersey first dropped, some bloggers were saying that there were multiple fights during this upcoming season that we're watching. So my mind immediately thought, will there be a tussle? Will this be the first tussle of the season between Dolores and Jackie? So we will just have to wait till next week to find out. But I want to circle back to how it all popped off. And that was your girl, Miss Jennifer. Jennifer told Dolores that Jackie questioned their friendship. First of all, Jennifer, when you were crying because you were embarrassed about the drama about your husband cheating, getting out, you were crying to Jackie and Jackie listened to you and showed you compassion. So why are you throwing her under the bus to Dolores? Seems like a fake friend to me. You know, you want someone when it's convenient for you to confide in, but you don't want to be the only one getting all the smoke. So then you start a rift between Jackie and Dolores. So tell me in the comments, do you all think that Jennifer and Jackie's friendship is sincere? I really don't think that it is, and we'll have to ride out this season to say if they remain friends, or perhaps, you know, they say hindsight is 2020. Jackie may rewatch this season and it's like, you know, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Jennifer, and may have a change of heart. We'll just have to see. I will say this though, you know, you can't always assume that people's kindness is weakness, you know, and I don't know if that's what Jennifer is thinking about Jackie, but something ain't right. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. Please like this video. It helps me out. Please subscribe, and you know, let's take all these TV show journeys together. Thank you so much and take good care. Bye-bye.